Well, thank you very much, Wallace, for that overly kind introduction. And let me thank you as well for your leadership of the Chancellor's Council. It really is great to see so many of you that were able to join us today. I also want to thank Rhonda Safety and her crew. None of this happens without Rhonda and her folks, so please let's have a round of applause for her. We've got a fascinating symposium for you today. And for those of you that had a chance to join us a little earlier, I know that you enjoyed your breakout sessions. I really do want to thank all of you. Wallace said it, frankly, better than I ever could, but your support of the UT system and what the UT system does in terms of supporting Texas is absolutely critical to our future. It has shaped our past, and it will continue to shape our future. So again, to each and every one of you, thank you so very, very much. Well, my job today is to give you an update on the state of the system, of the UT system. And let me start by saying the state of the system is incredibly strong. It is incredibly strong because of the great leaders we have across our campuses, presidents who drive for excellence, faculty who are dedicated to educating our kids, employees who do everything within their power to provide the very best service to the institutions, and of course the magnificent students who are focused, driven, curious, active, and unrelenting in their desire to change the world for the better. The state of our system owes so much to these leaders, but it also owes a great deal to those leaders who came before us. As Wallace said, we are honored this afternoon to be joined by three remarkable men who shaped the future of the UT system, who over the past 50 years set the conditions for success that we enjoy today. Chancellors Bill Cunningham, Mark Udolph, and Francisco Cigarroa. And we're going to hear from them shortly, but I want to publicly thank them for the example that they have set, for their wise counsel, for what they have provided me over the last couple of years, and the impact they have had on the last half century of this incredible system. So again, to the three that are here today, thank you so very much. I also want to thank 5 of our finest university leaders that are with us here today who will surely put their stamp on the next half century. Presidents Kirk Calhoun, David Callender, Guy Bailey, Greg Finvez, Vistas Karbari, and I think I also saw Mike Tidwell here. We are fortunate to have phenomenal leaders at our institutions, and I look forward to hearing from them a little later on. So let me now talk about the state of the system. I want to begin with an update on the quantum leaps. I'm sure most of you are getting tired of hearing about these damn quantum leaps. But that's exactly the point. My staff and the staffs on the campus spend a lot of time focusing on the quantum leaps. They do so because if we expect to make any real progress, we can't take our eye off the ball. This means weekly, monthly, quarterly meetings. This means detailed project plans. This means a project manager whose primary responsibility is to shepherd the quantum leaps toward success. This means goals, metrics, a sustainable budget, and a critical eye towards improvement. So I don't want to rehash them all, but I do want to give you a quick update because ultimately, I am responsible to you, to the board, and to the people of Texas for the success of these quantum leaps. So let's start with student success. At the end of the day, putting the young people on a path to a good life is job number 1. It will always be job number 1 for us. Every chancellor before me and every president that ever led one of our universities understands that. At system administration and around the campuses that the work of student success continues with great urgency. For this quantum leap, Dr. Rebecca Karoff from Academic Affairs leads a team of approximately 80 men and women from our universities. They are incredibly committed to improving our 4- and 6-year graduation rates. And I have challenged our leaders to overturn orthodoxies, to take risks, and most of all, to collaborate with each other. The goal is ambitious, but straightforward. No student should drop out because of finances. No student should give up on their education for lack of engagement, for a sense that somehow they belong. And every student should receive advice and counsel that they need for their pathway forward. These are the 3 tenets. They've been identified by the campuses, and they will drive student success forward. We won't get there overnight, but I'm encouraged by the sustained, energetic, and concerted efforts underway. Our second quantum leap is a Texas Prospect Initiative, and it is directly tied to student success. It's all about ensuring that the students that arrive on our doorstep are ready for college. The Texas Prospect Initiative is our attempt to more deeply engage with pre-K through 12 communities to ensure that every person who shows up is ready to learn and ready to succeed. And I'm pleased to say that this initiative is moving along very nicely. We have 8 separate projects underway, the most high profile being the State Dual Credit Task Force and our own dual credit study. So why are dual credits so important? Well, imagine your child or grandchild earning UT credits while still in high school. Imagine being able to count all those credits and graduate in 3 years instead of 4. Think of what that means in terms of reducing student debt, not to mention starting to earn a college graduate's salary a year earlier. However, while dual credit may sound like the Holy Grail, it's not without its problems. Quality control is the biggest issue. Not all dual credits are created equal. While the Prospect Initiative is still in the early days, we have already engaged an unprecedented set of partners and stakeholders from across Texas to strengthen the student pipeline and help Texas students be college and career ready. While the impact of what we're doing is likely years away, we're off to a fast start and a very encouraging start. The third quantum leap is the American Leadership Program. It sprung from our belief, reinforced by every CEO I've spoken to, that every student we touch ought to receive some kind of leadership training. Whether their field of study is business or botany, law or literature, their career arc will be a function, at least in part, of their ability to master the basics of leadership. Right now, we are compiling an inventory of all the institution's leadership training efforts. And I'm pleased to say there are a lot of great leadership programs out there. But as fine as these programs are, they only touch a small portion of our student population, and we want to go bigger. Once we have completed our inventory, we will have a solid data on where the gaps are. And I believe in very short order, we will be able to come up with a plan to scale appropriately and ensure that the young men and women we send out into the workforce in any field are ready to lead from day one. Imagine 220,000 students all receiving some level of leadership training. This is, at the end, our goal. The next quantum leap we call winning the talent war. It is our acknowledgement that we operate in a very competitive field. And if we want to attract the best students, we need to invest in the very best faculty. Now, this leap was underway long before I arrived, but it was so good that I asked to double down on our investment. Our STARS program, launched way back in 2004, has yielded a phenomenal return on investment, more than $650 million in external research from an investment of $100 million. These are to attract National Academy faculty. STARS is focused on attracting the very best and the brightest faculty and researchers in the world. What we have done to make it leap-worthy is to add an additional $10 million to that program. But we also invested $20 million in what we call the Rising Stars program, a recognition that there are a lot of young Turks out there, folks that have not become National Academy, but that their star is rising. And therefore, we want to invest in them as well. Nothing will shape the next 50 years more than making sure that our destination and our choice of faculty is clear, is concise, is the best in the business. That said, our fifth quantum leap is our acknowledgement that we won't have the kind of faculty and administration our students want and deserve unless we aggressively ramp up our efforts to drive equal opportunity and fairness in our hiring and promotion process. This is an area where, like many organizations, we have fallen short for far too long. As a start, we have put in place a rule. I refer to it as the Rooney Rule from the National Football League. But as a start, we have put in place a rule to ensure that qualified women and members of underrepresented groups are among the final candidates considered for every senior level position. Already in the last year and a half, we have seen the benefits of this approach. We've hired some great people who might have otherwise slipped through the cracks. At the same time, we are working hard and thinking hard about how to close the gender pay gap across the UT system. We want to be sure that all things being equal, all things being equal, the same work receives the same pay regardless of gender. Our sixth quantum leap is our healthcare enterprise. Did you know that between our 6 healthcare institutions, we see more than 7.2 million outpatients each year? Think of the unique positions that puts us in terms of collecting and sharing data to drive better care, accelerate the cures, and make our state a healthier place to live. Our intent through this healthcare enterprise is to take all our magnificent health institutions and have them operate as a true integrated system for the people of Texas. I want to credit the Board of Regents for believing in this effort. They have allocated more than $10 million to fund collaborations in clinical trials, shared clinical information, and other efforts to leverage our unique collective size and expertise. The Regents also approved $45 million in PUF bonds to fund cancer collaboration between MD Anderson, UT Health San Antonio, UT Health Northeast, UT Medical Branch in Galveston, and the Dell Medical School just down the street. I also want to thank the healthcare presidents for their enthusiastic engagement and their willingness to pull together to really strengthen our size, to use our size and scales to strengthen the healthcare enterprise. Now, while the healthcare enterprise takes a more holistic view of the needs of Texas, our next quantum leap is sharply focused on treating and curing the diseases of the brain. The neurosciences are sort of the last great frontier in medicine. From Alzheimer's to autism to concussions and addiction, post-traumatic stress, stroke, dementia, and on, so many of our friends and family and neighbors are suffering from ailments that are largely a mystery to us. The good news is we have extraordinary people doing extraordinary work on health, on brain health, all over the system. I would be remiss not to mention specifically the incredible recruits arriving and the results unfolding at the Peter O'Donnell Jr. Brain Institute in UT Southwestern and the newly forming Mulva Clinic at the neurosciences, for the neurosciences at UT Austin. We have set out to scale our strengths and leverage all the great work going on at our academic and health institutions. As with many of the leaps, we're in our early days. However, among other encouraging developments, last year, the National Institute of Health bestowed 513 neuroscience grants to UT Systems institutions, accounting for nearly 2/3 of the funds awarded in Texas. Turning to the UT Network for National Security, I will tell you this of the quantum leaps is really going great guns. Led in part by UT Austin at the Clements Center for National Security and the Strauss Center for International Security and Law, the National Security Network is bringing together the expertise and resources of all our institutions, academic and health. And I believe we are well on our way to creating the premier university system in the country for national security. Already, we are recruiting some of the best and brightest talent from around the nation. We are supporting important national security research. We are training the next generation of national security professionals, including experts in cybersecurity, biological warfare, and more. And we have hosted a number of conferences, panels, and other events that have both raised our profile in the arena and improved the public's understanding of the national security issues. This one is out of the starting gates and moving very fast. Now, there's one quantum leap that I haven't mentioned, of course, and that's the expansion in Houston. Our intent was, given Houston's unique place in the landscape of Texas and the country, its great institutions, diverse populations, its world leadership in medicine and energy, we had hoped to build a collaborative effort that would benefit the city and the state and benefit from the insights and expertise of the local leaders. We put together just a marvelous task force of Houstonians and others and gave them a blank canvas to work from. They considered lots of interesting ideas, but landed on the notion of data science, a big data science institute that would have 3 nodes, one in health, one in energy, health and energy and education. Unfortunately, as most of you know by now, I was unable to develop a shared vision for this quantum leap. As I've said before, I accept full responsibility for this project not moving forward. ultimately I determined that the Houston project was overshadowing all the other great work going on at the UT institutions. Consequently, I made the decision to stop the project and focus our efforts on all the other quantum leaps and campus initiatives. But my hope is that some of the great ideas that sprung from the task force will find a home at one or more of our institutions. So that's an update on the quantum leaps. And while not a quantum leap, I want to touch briefly on a study that we did on the issue of sexual assault on campus. I know those of you who attended the discovery session on campus safety are up to speed, but let me briefly give you my perspective on the issue. The reason I wanted to take this on really goes back to my time in the military. When I was a 3-star admiral running the Joint Special Operations Command, which was about 99% male, my command sergeant major, who was the senior enlisted guy at the command, came to me one day and said, "Sir, I think we have a problem of sexual assault, sexual harassment, sexual misconduct within the command." I had about 10,000 folks that worked for me. Candidly, I was a little dismissive of him. I didn't see how that was possible in light of the fact that it was a predominantly male organization, and oh, by the way, we were overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan fighting most of the time. But I asked him to pull the data, to talk to the chaplains, to talk to the docs, to talk to the young ladies. And in fact, we had a problem. We had a serious problem. And I'm pleased to say when we gathered the data and we found out the nature of the problem, we went after it aggressively. So when I got here in January of 2015, after watching the problems that have existed on a number of other campuses, I was determined that we would do a study to take a look and to find out the data on our campuses. And in May of 2015, the Regents authorized $1.7 million for us to do a multi-level study, referred to as the CLASS study or the CLAY study, the Cultivating Learning in a Safe Environment. Dr. Noelle Bush, who gave the earlier session, just did a magnificent job, her and her team. And there is always concern when you're talking about sexual assault, because no matter what you find, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be ugly. But I told folks we were not going to run from it. We were not going to hide from it. We were going to shine a light on it, and we were going to get after these problems. And I will tell you, to the presidents, every one of them got on board. Every one of them recognized that we needed more work to be done. We were doing good work at the campuses, make no mistake about that, but we know we can do better. And the data now gives us areas to focus on. So again, I want to thank the presidents for their support of this, and I want to thank Dr. Noelle Bush for her unrelenting pursuit of driving our sexual assaults to zero. I've probably exceeded my allotted time, but let me just close with a couple of thoughts on the legislative session. As you know, we're going into a very difficult session here. We knew that before coming in, and it has lived up to our expectations. So we didn't expect increased fundings, especially given the lower 2018, 2019 state revenue estimates. But we were, in all honesty, a bit taken back by the initial budget proposals of both the House and the Senate, which would have dramatically reduced funding. Fortunately, as the budget bills have come forward, they are not as draconian as we anticipated. However, as they stand now, they still have serious consequences if we can't continue to make the case for higher education and health care. And I won't sugarcoat the fact that it is tough sledding right now. But I'm hopeful that the Senate and the House will continue to work hard and recognize the needs of our universities and our health institutions. And finally, a few thoughts. Thanks to so many magnificent leaders, we have had a remarkable run for the past 50 years. But for us to continue to be successful, we need to think about the qualities that will define us now and into the future. Beyond the quest for excellence in education, research, and health care, what do we want to be known for? I believe that more than anything else, more than the great engineers, the great lawyers, the great doctors, the great artists, and the great athletes, we want to be known for building men and women of great character. Men and women who are not afraid to challenge the status quo, to speak truth to power, to stand up for what they believe in, to always seek to be moral, legal, and ethical. Men and women who respect everyone and who are themselves respected. Character knows no color, no gender, no social status. Good character is universal in its appeal. But to generate men and women of good character, we, the leadership of the system, the chancellor, the presidents, the provosts, the deans, the chairs, the faculty, and the student leaders, we must set the example. Where there is ignorance, we must challenge it. Where there is injustice, we must stand against it. Where there is inequality, we must confront it. And where there is hatred and bigotry, we must overcome it. To be a great system, we absolutely must take on the difficult challenges of the day. We must find opportunities to shape the national narrative on sexual assault, the First Amendment, immigration, climate change, scientific discovery, national security, healthcare, and higher education. We can't run from these issues because they are controversial. We must address them head on. If we don't, what example are we setting for our students? How are we defining our character if we get weak-kneed in the midst of challenging times? Great character is bold and unafraid. Our students must see the system, each of our institutions, as fearless purveyors of good character. Without the character to be bold and courageous, how will we ever get to Mars, cure cancer, eliminate racism, create artistic masterpieces, or build the iPhone? Great systems, great universities, great colleges, and great men and women all push the limits of comfortable discourse, of exploration, of conventional wisdom. But that does not come easy. To take on the tough tasks requires character, and nothing will define us as a people or as a nation more than our character. If we set our sights beyond the technical, beyond the pragmatic, and focus as much on character as these other important qualities, then the state of the system, the state of Texas, and the state of the nation will be strong long into the future. And those that came before us and those that will follow us will always be proud to say that they were students at UT. Thank you very, very much.